So we've got everything working fine and dandy. The only thing we want to do now is be able to punch in some data up here for the customer and have it look up all that information, if it's an existing customer. And I think what we want to do is look up on the phone number because that's something that would be pretty unique. And as it turns out, this allows us to demonstrate the use of the hlookup function. Because the main difference between the two, we know that with VLOOKUP, we used that on this inventory worksheet that has all of the different elements in columns. That's how they're arranged. So we've got our product all arranged vertically in a column. Category all arranged vertically. All of these. So when we use VLOOKUP, it goes and finds this number and then the corresponding column for that and returns a value. With hlookup, it's exactly the opposite. And I set up a worksheet that would demonstrate this is the same information, but with hlookup, everything is arranged like one single category goes all the way across horizontally. That's where we get the H for hlookup. So in this case, whenever we look up the product ID, it then needs to correspond to which row you want to pull that data from. So it totally depends on how your data was arranged. That's the main thing here. Because some things, as a human being, it makes more sense to us to arrange them in one way, and some things it makes more sense to arrange in another. What I have done on the customer's worksheet here is I have arranged name, address, and city and all this kind of stuff in the format that we're more familiar to, as human beings. That, of course, it doesn't really matter how it's arranged as far as Excel is concerned, but somebody could have arranged this already like this, and then I need to go in there and write some kind of formula to work with this data. That's fine. One thing that I have noticed here, I need to get the phone number up on top, so I'm going to cut that, go up top, and do an insert cut cells to put that at the top because of the lookup that I'm going to do. When you do a lookup, the first value there, that's where things are searched for in your range. So let's go back to the invoice. Let's note some things here first. B1 is our phone number. B2 is the name. We need to just, kind of make a mental note of all this stuff so we don't have to hop back and forth too much. But what we want is a drop down here for the phone number. And I'll go to data validation on the data tab, remember that. And allow, click the drop down there to go to list and our source. And remember, this is where it is critical to have gotten that information prior, because once you click on this, you can't switch worksheets. So, fortunately, I have done that. And an equal sign, notice I remembered it this time. Customers, and we got to spell it all right, exclamation. And the range that we're looking for here is B1 to, let's say, Z6. So I'm allowing for 25 customers, even though I don't have that information displayed. Must be a delimited list or, oh, you know what? That's the wrong list. B1 to Z1, not a range. I am totally messing this up. B1 to Z1. There we go. Okay, so we have specified one whole line, and if I click the drop down, there are our numbers. Wonderful. We pick the first one. So what formula do we use to pull this data? Remember, it's the same thing that we did with all of these, except now we're using hlookup hlookup, because the data is arranged in a different layout. So we don't want things to show up unless a phone number has been picked. So we're going to use if, and our test is B4 less than or equal to double quotes. So if B4 is anything but null or completely empty, here's what we want to do. hlookup, and our lookup value, we're pointing to the phone number. Okay, B4. The table array, what data do you want to look at? And for this, we'll do customers exclamation. We'll look at B1 to Z26, and then the row index number. Remember, the index number starts at where your table array starts. So we're going basically from B1 all the way down to Z6. So our index starts here at B1, and that means the index would be 1 for the phone number. We want the name, so the index is 2. So for our row index, we put 2, and then we want false because we don't want anything to show up if it's not a complete match. And the value that we want if B4 is null, so if that test that we did earlier is false, the value should just be double quotes, and then we can close the parenthesis. All right, and it has looked up our name for us. Fantastic. Same thing. We need to do the same thing for address, and actually, you know what? Instead of making these absolute values, I'm just going to go ahead and fix them. So I'll copy that down, and we'll say B4. If I was going to do a whole bunch of copying with this, then I would go in there and fix it and make them absolute. But since I'm not, Z26. And now our index is 3. So there's the address. Same thing. Let's go ahead and copy and paste. And I will, in fact, paste that there as well and paste that there as well. But now we got to go in and fix things up here. Let's see. B4, hlookup, B4 customers, B1 to Z26, that's correct, index 3. And that's, oh, you know what? I pasted in the wrong place, that's why. Why didn't you tell me something? Were you paying attention? All right. Now let's grab it. And that's what happened. That's what I did last time. I forgot to hit escape. Okay, so now we just got to go in and tweak our settings here. Let's go to 4. Great. And over here we want that to be 5, I believe. Just changing the index value here. And the last one is 6. That's our zip code. So now, whenever we go in here and we click the drop down and we select somebody's phone number, boom, pulls up all the information for us automatically. And if we delete the phone number, it's all gone. Okay, we'll save that. And that's it. We're all set. We can click in and select a phone number. If, incidentally, if you start typing here, 937, you can just do this manually. 999, 9999. And when we hit tab, everything is populated there. So very nice because, of course, we can go over to customers. We can update this information, add new customers. All of that is fine. The only thing you have to pay attention to, really, that you got to keep in mind is that whenever you're doing something like this, the ranges that you have specified, those are pretty much defined. So you're saying only take into consideration B1 to Z26. Well, if I happened to, get 25 customers and then I added another customer that's outside of that range, they're not going to show up. Even if I did, George here. Actually, phone number is supposed to be first, right? 999. We'll just make up one. George and this street. City, we'll just put my city, my state, my zip, and I think that's all that we've got there. Yep. If I go back to invoice here and I click the drop down, you're going to see they don't even show up because they're specified as a range. Like we have the range preset. Even if I go to data validation and I expand that range, let's make it AA. Whoops. Customers, exclamation. B1. Let's do AA6. Whoops, I keep forgetting to do that. I do the full range, but it's AA1. Okay, so we have validated them and added them in here. And, I mean, look at all the empty cells that we have here. And we have the phone number. But if we click the phone number, we get all these NAs here. Because none of these are taking into consideration, the AA column. So that's just something that you have to take into account, kind of keep in the back of your mind. If you set a range up in here, I mean, you have that limitation. So, if you're trying to do all of this inside of Excel, Excel is not a database program. So it doesn't function in the same way that a database does. But you can do similar things. Just, keep in mind that you're specifying a range there, and that is the limit. And I mean, it's a real simple fix. If I did want to include that in here, then I just go in here and I change the range and make it include, column AA. So it's no big deal. But anyhow, that is it. We're going to go ahead now and move on to something even a little bit more fun. Pivot tables.